Welcome back to Figs Talks Fights. I'm your host, Brian Figueredo. Today, let's get into this Max ROHSKOPF. Okay, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, it's spelled a little weird, so I'm doing my best here, all right? His quitting on this stool situation that happened last Saturday, which was, I believe, June the 20th, was the UFC on Vegas 3 fight card that they had. So let's just get right into it. Look, everyone's calling Max ROHSKOPF a quitter. Let's dive a little bit more into the facts here, okay? First fact, Max ROHSKOPF made his mixed martial arts professional debut in February of 2018, okay? This was his sixth fight. And of all of his 6 fights, he only had his second fight in April of 2019 and then fought all the way until February of 2020. So we're talking about a young man, okay, he's in his early 20s, who made his debut in February of 2018, takes 14 months off, fights 4 more times, all first-round submissions on low-level regional circuits, okay? And that's no disrespect to any of his opponents, but we're talking about MMA at an elite level, okay? And he's coming in on, I think, 5 or 6 days, let's just call it 1 week's notice, to make his UFC debut, and hasn't fought since February, okay? And he's taking on Austin Hubbard, who has, I believe, an 11-4 record. Doesn't sound all that impressive, but I mean, look, he's already been in the UFC for a few fights. He's got the taste of the big showdown, and he literally has 3 times the amount of fight experience that Max ROHSKOPF had, okay? So, let's talk about the fight, okay? Max comes in there. Look, Max started out extremely strong and was controlling this fight. You can tell he's a ground wizard. I mean, comes out, his stand-up is decent, okay? It's not as bad of a high-level grappler as, with no disrespect to Jake Shields, because Jake Shields' stand-up is effective, but look, it's not the greatest thing. It's not the example you would give to somebody on what your stand-up should look like and make it look crisp, okay? He did a good job when he was throwing his kicks out there to follow up with one of those side kicks right to the body, okay? I think it's like that Taekwondo style, just to create the distance. His wrestling looked great. His takedowns look great. His transitions for a young man going from a heel hook to a knee bar, he had Austin Hubbard in all kinds of trouble in that first round, making him work diligently. I mean, I don't know if it was just a broadcast. I think Michael Bisping even said he heard a pop. I heard something too. Who the hell knows what the audio picked up, but some things look pretty freaking nasty in some of those transitions. So, I mean, the kid obviously has talent. In between the first and the second round, Drysdale, his corner, Robert Drysdale, is telling him, look, try to take the back and go for the neck. He's going to give you something out there. He's going to show it, and then you're going to catch it, okay? Tries to go for it, and you could tell he just burnt everything out within the first minute of the second round, okay? This is where Austin Hubbard starts really just picking him apart, landing heavier shots, mixing it up to the body, cracking him a few times. Max, I mean, ROHSKOPF's not going down or anything like that, but you can tell this is doing some damage to him, especially with those shots to the body, okay? End of the second round comes, all right? The 10-second clapper happens, okay? And then Hubbard is just feeding him body, top, everything, just throwing in and grinding in these shots. Max walks to his corner and repeatedly says to his corner man, Robert Drysdale, which Robert Drysdale is a high-level jiu-jitsu competitor and a pretty good mixed martial artist himself when he was competing. So, I mean, we got to give him some respect in that regard. But, I mean, it all fell on deaf ears because Max just repeatedly say, call it, call it, call the fight. I can't do this, okay? And Drysdale is pretty much pleading with him like, come on, Max, you got this in you. Now, look, have I seen worse beatings than that and a fighter come back around to it? Sure, I think we all have, especially at this level. But, like, let's take a second to look back and think about this. This is a young man in his early 20s. He got a call on 1 week's notice to come fight for the UFC as a last-minute replacement and make 155 pounds. I don't know what he weighed before coming into this fight. Rumors are having it that he had a real tough weight cut, okay? Take these things aside. His manager Brian Butler's been all over Sean Shelby and Dana White saying he's the next big thing. That's putting a lot of pressure on you there. And fatigue. Fatigue. I think a lot of people are not giving him the understanding and the credibility of how much fatigue takes out of you. Now look, I've never fought professionally in my life, okay? But for the amateur competitions and fights that I've done, okay? Let's take it to like a grappling tournament, okay? I think that either the second or the third time I ever competed, went up with my team to Montreal. And I'll tell you what, I did successfully the first few times I competed. I didn't put in that much work this time around, okay? I'll get to my point in a second. Had a couple of matches. Now, my division was, normally you have time in between one match to another match. My division was the last one of that day, so they were going out like this. Look, I was spent. After the third one, I was spent. Okay, and I remember my coach just giving me all kinds of instructions on what I did wrong on the last one, and they're calling my name to come back on deck. Look, only reason why I hopped on that goddamn mat at that point, I mean, I was beyond exhausted. My heart rate was boom, 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 boom. It was because I knew nobody's going to punch and kick me in the fucking face. It was a grappling tournament. This guy was literally getting chewed up. If you can't even lift your hands to defend yourself, if your heart is literally burning and on fire, your lungs are on fire, at that kind of a stage where you're at in your career, it is a tough ask to ask a young guy with that kind of experience to get out there. I mean, he obviously has skills, okay? If anything, I think he had heart to show up in the second round. It looked like the beginning of the second round was his last hurrah. And then at the end of the second round, he's looking at his coach like, fuck, this is the worst. Now, getting back to what I was saying, look, when you are fatigued in those moments, do you know what you start thinking about? And I've talked to other guys about this. Guys that made it to higher levels, guys that competed on amateur levels, whatever the hell. We all had one thing in common. When you get fatigued in any kind of a combat situation, or competition, I should say, you think about that last sprint that you said, fuck it, I'm going to coast it. You think about those last few push-ups that you might have just coasted, or that one day that you were a little too sore to show up, or that you just start questioning things. Did I do enough? I mean, look, depends on how hard on yourself you are. You may never do enough. But I mean, guarantee you that shit was going through his head. He's had training camps before. He's probably thinking about like, I didn't get to do the sprint circuit. I didn't get to do a weight circuit. I didn't get to drill the Ironman where I have a fresh opponent coming in every round or every minute, however the hell his team would construct something like that. There's a lot of things that are going through his head that's telling him, look, this is a hill too far to climb. The only thing I didn't like that he had to say was that, look, you know, Robert Drysdale was trying to tell him, look, you can do this. You're a champion. You got this. No, I don't want to do this anymore. Look, I don't buy that. I don't buy it. I think it's way too soon to be calling this guy off and saying he's not a real fighter. Looked like a real fucking fighter to me. Looks like he got himself in a shit situation that a lot of us have, but there wasn't millions of people watching to criticize. So give the guy another shot. Should the UFC re-sign him? No, not yet. Put him on the Contender Series or something like that. Apparently that's what he was gearing up to do this summer. Give him another shot later in the summer to try to prove himself against another guy who has 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. Not somebody who has 15, not on 1 week's notice, not in cutting weight with God knows how much weight he had to cut on 5 days, okay? And let him build a fire inside of himself to come back and prove, hey, maybe he can do this, maybe he can't. But I think it is way too early to start calling it off, all right? So that's all I have to say here today. So look, for anybody that's watching my channel, look, I've been busy as hell. You don't give a shit about that, but like, look, my life outside of this camera, a lot of stuff's going on. So I'm glad I finally got some time to come down here and just shoot a quick video. I'm going to do my best to try to keep things up. If you enjoyed the content here today, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, all that good shit. We got Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker this Saturday. Damn, I can't wait. That's going to be a great fight. Co-main event, I think, Mickey Gall and Mike Perry. damn, Clash of the Delinquents. Can't wait for that one either. So till next time.